Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me. This is Sierra from Sierra T Designs, and today I have for you a watercolored bird ATC. So let's jump right in. So to start, I always have my paper pre-cut. It's cut down to 2.5 by 3.5 inches. That's your standard ATC size. That's the only real rule that I'm aware of that to making ATCs. And if you're not sure what an ATC is, it's an artist trading card. So I have the stamp set here from Simon's Stamp. It's called Look for the Rainbows, and I've taken the birds and the branch out of the stamp set, and I'm stamping them down on Canson watercolor paper, and I'm using Versafine Clair Nocture ink. Sorry, I had a little... oh boy, it's been a day, guys. So that's the ink that I'm stamping them in. I'm going to use my little mini Misti to stamp these out. And I'm not going to do it on camera, but I also made masks because I want to do an oxide blended background. And so I had to mask because I'm doing a one layer. Because I trade my trading cards to other artists, I like to make them as one layer as possible, not have too much bulk, just for shipping purposes, because mailing things with a lot of bulk can be quite expensive. So I stamped these images back out again on Inkadinkado stamping or masking paper, and then I fussy cut them out off camera. And here you can see I'm just taking off the backing of the masks and placing the masks down on the paper. So the branch was kind of a silly mask to cut because honestly it doesn't stay on the paper throughout the blending process because it was so thin, and because this is a watercolor, like cold press watercolor paper, it's very textured. The stamping paper doesn't like, or the masking paper doesn't like to stick very well. So you'll see me struggle along with it here a bit as we go through the blending, but I just worked with it. Eventually I just took off the branch mask. I mean, the branch is going to be brown, so it doesn't really matter. And here I have, this is Tumbled glass, and I'm going to bring in shaded lilac. Yes, shaded lilac as well. And you can see I'm just blending it on with my domed foam. I love these domed foams. I don't think that I can speak highly enough of them. They just make blending a dream. I'm just enjoying them so much. So I just find that when you use the dome foams to blend, it doesn't leave harsh lines behind. So it kind of just makes it a bit of a simpler process, no matter the paper you're really using, because here this is a watercolor cardstock. So, and as you can see, the branch it's not staying on there whatsoever. And don't get excited about my nails. I have not seen my nail lady yet. This is actually filmed about a month and a half. No, more than now, maybe 3 or 4 months ago. I always have a couple of videos sitting in the queue, just if I'm having a bit of a slow week in the creative world, or if I'm making stuff that I can't really post yet because it's birthday cards for friends, or like I put up Mother's Day cards because Mother's Day is this weekend. Or when you see this, Mother's Day will have been yesterday, but this I film and record before the video is actually going up. But this was just sitting in the wings. I have a few videos that I have in the queue that I'm going to put up here pretty soon, and you'll see that my nails are lovely in them. Sadly, my nails are not lovely yet, but soon. Fingers crossed that the world kind of comes back to normal here in the soonish future. That would be lovely. So yeah, I finished all of my blending. Here you can just see that I'm removing my masks, and then we're going to jump into using the Arteza water brush markers. This is the first time I've used them. I actually picked up the big set, and I haven't used them before, and I just really wanted to try them out. I love watercolor markers, and so I kind of wanted to play with these ones because this is the biggest that I own. I own a couple of Tombos, but I haven't been able to use much of the markers yet, so this was just kind of my chance to use them. And here I'll tell you what colors I'm using. Right now I have walnut brown. That's what my branch is going to be. And you can see that I started out with a watercolor brush, like not right now, I'm putting on some ink, but when you see me kind of moving the color around with that watercolor brush, I end up switching to a regular paintbrush because I found I had no control. The watercolor brush just let out so much water that it seeped out of my image. I could have maybe embossed this and that would have made it a little bit simpler, but I didn't. So some of the coloring did go outside of the lines. I don't really mind. I kind of distracted the eye a bit with some white splatter after to kind of hide that a little bit, But yeah, so you can see here I've switched to paintbrushes instead of using the water brush, just because I had so little control over how much water went on and where it pooled to and those kind of things. So I do end up trading it up now for some paintbrushes. And my paint brushes are a Royal and Langnickel Zen watercolor brush in the size 2, and then a Princeton brush in the size 0, and they're both pointed round brushes. And then back to my colors. So as I said, I'm using a walnut brown for the branch, and then I'm going to do my birds. The first one you're going to see is red. I just wrote down red, so obviously that was the color name. And then when I get to the yellow bird, it's sunset yellow and bumblebee yellow. And then the bluebird, you're going to see me struggle a little bit when we get to the bluebird. The colors that I chose, it was too dark. So like right now you're going to see that the red bird is quite bright. And then the yellow bird is quite bright. And then the blue that I ended up choosing was just too dark. It didn't go well with what I had chosen for the other birds. So I started out with night sky blue and it was way too dark. So I got most of that off. And then I went to a royal blue, which was still too dark in my opinion. Oh, and here's my littlest kitten. She comes to help me watercolor this. That's Ember. And then in the end, I finished with bright blue, and I think that really helped that bird stand out, because otherwise the bird it didn't fit with the other two birds on the card. So we kind of went through a bit of a process with the bluebird, but in the end I think that it turned out okay. Because I used so many colors, it did bleed out a bit of the bluebird as well. But as I said, we're going to kind of cover that up when we get to, I'm going to add some watercolor some splashes of white on the background. Or I throw it all over the card, to be honest with you. And that's just kind of how I masked that bit of a boo-boo a little bit. But yeah, so we're just going to paint along, and I added the color mostly on where I thought the darkest part of the bird would be. So like the wing on the underside of the belly, the head where the beak was, and then I blended it out from there, making it the lightest possible. And then I would keep blending it out and try to get kind of a nice blend, with the darkest part just being where the shadow would have been. And then I added a little bit of the yellow to the beaks as well. So here you can see we're going to jump into the yellow bird, and I'm going to do the exact same. I lay the color down where I think the color would be the darkest, and then I start to blend it out with just some clean water, and that's the Zen brush, the Royal and Langnickel Zen brush. And I just keep blending until I'm happy with the blend. And if you're not, you can absolutely go back in with more colors. Like I said, on the blue one, I went over the color a couple of times to try to get a color that I actually liked. And it was a bit of a struggle. But if you don't like the color, put some clean, clear water on top, and then use a piece of paper towel to kind of blot off the color. And that'll help you remove the color that you don't want there. As here you're going to see that I'm going to start, and this color it doesn't work with the other colors that I chose. It's a beautiful color. These markers actually are a lot of fun to use. With the very fine point, you can get quite a small line of color, which works beautifully when you're trying to blend it out as much as I am. And the markers are just so much fun to work with. But the color I chose just did not work. So of course this is the night sky blue, and you can see that I've blended out most of it because I knew it wasn't going to work. And then so I chose a different blue. Now this is the royal blue, and I put it down, and you can see it's still not bright enough, in my opinion, to go with the other two birds. And you kind of lose it a little bit to the background, where the tumbled glass and the shaded lilac blend a little bit. The bird doesn't pop. It doesn't draw your eye. It just wasn't the right color for this. And of course, a trial and error, right? How are you going to learn if you don't make mistakes? And this is my first time with these markers, so I'm not mad at it. So I blended that out, didn't like it, and here we're going to go in with the bright blue, and this is the winner in my opinion. So I'm going to lay it back down over top of the other dark colors. So you didn't need much shading on this one because those other colors are already so built up in the darkest areas that I pretty much just take the marker and blend it out as much as I can to create that same blue color across the bird. And you can see I'm kind of working it. And luckily this paper takes a fair amount of water and it takes a fair amount of abuse. So I was really lucky that it didn't try to pill up on me at all. It just took the water, took me rubbing the color around quite a bit, and then it was good. And I found that I quite liked that. But when you get the close-up later, you'll see that the color bled out of the wings a bit. And that was just me. I put too much color on it multiple times. So here you can see I have the Winsor & Newton white gouache, and I've just put it on a small acrylic block. I'm going to dab some water around it, mix it up really well until it's a thin consistency, and then I'm going to take my ATC and stick it on top of a paper towel so that I can flick on some background drops. And this honestly kind of just helps with some of the mistakes that I made on this card. They don't really look like mistakes then, they just kind of blend in with it. And because I'm a card maker, I have to add sentiments to everything. That's just kind of how I roll. It just, you know. So I laid the stamp down and I inked it up, and then I'm looking at the grid on the mini Misti, and I realized the stamp actually isn't straight at all. So I wiped the ink back off so that I can manipulate it a bunch to try to get it straight. And you know what, honestly, in the end, it's not straight. I thought it was straight. It's not, but it doesn't really matter. I don't even think that it's really easy to tell that it's not quite straight. And I stamped it twice because this is a very textured paper. And then yeah, that is the ATC. I'm going to hold it up here now for you guys to see. And yeah, so that's everything that I did today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you want to come back again, I would love to have you. I post a new video every Monday, so I'd love to have you subscribe. And if you wanted to leave a comment and a like, I would appreciate that so greatly. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.